They didn't ask if I could afford it. They didn't ask if I was okay. They didn't even look at me long enough to wonder. Asterisk. They simply slid a $3,450 bill across a luxury table asterisk with the kind of confidence that only comes from knowing. Asterisk someone has always paid before. That was the night something irreversible happened. Not loudly, not dramatically, quietly. Asterisk that was the night I stopped being their backup plan. Asterisk their safety net, their unspoken solution. That was the night I finally noticed asterisk how long I'd been disappearing. Asterisk the private dining room at. The Monarch felt less like a restaurant and more like a carefully staged illusion. The lighting was low and intentional warm amber tones designed to flatter skin and blur imperfections. Heavy curtains muted the sounds of the main dining hall, sealing us off from the rest of the world like a vault. The air carried the scent of truffle oil, seared steak, and money that had never once worried about overdraft fees. This wasn't a place you came to eat. This was a place you came to perform success. Asterisk every table held people leaning slightly forward, voices controlled, laughter timed. Deals were hinted at, not announced. Compliments were strategic. Everyone here was auditioning for something. Asterisk and at the center of our table perfectly positioned, perfectly lit, sat my sister Lauren. Asterisk she didn't just sit at the head of the table. She occupied it. Her posture was relaxed, confident, like the chair belonged to her by birthright. She wore a soft cream dress, expensive but understated, tailored just enough to say I didn't try too hard. Her hair fell effortlessly over one shoulder, styled in that careful way that pretends to be natural. Asterisk she looked exactly how she wanted to be seen. This dinner was her celebration, her moment, her proof. She called it her brand launch. Asterisk in reality, it was a 2-page feature in a local lifestyle magazine sandwiched between an article about seasonal cocktails and a sponsored piece on luxury candles. But Lauren talked about it like it was a global breakthrough. Asterisk, this is how it starts. She'd said earlier, swirling her wine. Once people see you, everything changes. Asterisk my parents nodded like investors hearing a pitch they desperately wanted to believe, especially my mother. Susan watched Lauren with a smile that was part pride, part relief, part validation. This was the version of motherhood she liked best. The version where her daughter looked successful in front of other people. Asterisk. When she stood up and tapped her fork against her crystal flute, the room obeyed instantly. Asterisk conversation stopped. Mid-word, chairs stilled, even the servers paused. She loved this power. To the bravest person in our family, she announced, voice thick with emotion that sounded spontaneous, but had been rehearsed internally 1,000 times. The one who isn't afraid to chase big dreams. Asterisk she turned toward Lauren, eyes shining. Applause erupted, not polite applause, performative applause. People leaned in, some smiled wider than necessary. A few guests lifted their phones subtly, pretending to check messages while clearly recording. Lauren pressed a hand to her chest, eyes misting just enough to look moved. I clapped too. My hands came together automatically, rhythm steady, face neutral. I knew this choreography. I had learned it young. Smile, support, don't disrupt the moment. For years, that had been my role. I didn't yet know I was about to walk off the stage entirely. The waiter appeared beside me without announcement. Asterisk not. At my parents' seats. Not at Lauren's. At mine. Asterisk he placed a thick leather folder next to my water glass and gave a small, professional nod like this was routine. Like this had happened many times before. The weight of the folder felt heavier than it should have been. I opened it. $3,450. For a second, my brain refused to process the number. Not because I couldn't pay it, I could, but because of what it represented. This wasn't a discussion. This wasn't even rude. This was assumed. My mother leaned closer, her expensive perfume mixing with the sharp bite of Merlot on her breath. She placed her hand on my arm, fingers warm, familiar. Claiming? Asterisk, teacher salaries are stable, sweetie, she whispered softly, smiling as if she were offering wisdom, not obligation. Support your sister. It's the least you can do. The least. That phrase landed heavier than the bill itself. Asterisk the least you can do. Asterisk. As if I hadn't already done more than anyone remembered. As if my presence here wasn't already a contribution. I looked at her hand resting on my arm. Then I looked at the bill. And in that moment, years stacked on top of each other. Missed weekends. Emergency transfers. Asterisk late night. Phone calls. Apologies I didn't owe. Support I never received back. Asterisk something inside me quiet. Exhausted and long ignored finally reached its limit. Asterisk I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I didn't justify myself. Asterisk I closed the folder slowly, deliberately. Placed my fingertips flat against the leather, feeling its smooth, expensive surface. Then I slid it back across the table. It glided until it struck the stem of my mother's wine glass with a sharp, unmistakable clink. Asterisk the sound cut through the room like glass cracking. Asterisk, I think the brand should pay for its own launch, I said. My voice was calm, steady, clear, not angry, not defensive, just final. Asterisk for half a second. The world stopped. My mother stared at the folder like it had betrayed her. Lauren's smile collapsed, her eyes flicking around the room, suddenly aware of the audience. Asterisk guests shifted uncomfortably.
Sensing something had gone off script. Asterisk I
stood up. Asterisk my legs felt strangely light, like my body had decided before my fear could intervene. I didn't look at Lauren. I didn't look at the guests. I turned away from the table. Behind me, a chair scraped loudly against the floor. Asterisk Madison. My mother hissed, her voice sharp with panic. Sit down. I didn't. I walked. Past the host stand. Past the coat check. Asterisk past the curious stares. Asterisk through the heavy oak doors and into the cold night air. The wind hit my face hard, biting, unforgiving, and I welcomed it. For the first time all evening, I took a full breath. Not the shallow, careful breathing I've been doing my entire life. A real one. Jacob followed me outside without saying a word. He didn't question. He didn't lecture.
He simply opened the car door and waited. Asterisk. The drive home was silent. No music. No conversation. Asterisk.
Just the hum of tires against pavement and the steady rhythm of my heartbeat in my ears. Asterisk I stared out the window, watching streetlights blur past, waiting for it to happen. The guilt, the panic. Asterisk the desperate urge to apologize and fix everything. It never came. Instead, there was clarity, cold, clean, unmistakable. My hands rested in my lap. Asterisk they weren't shaking. The car moved through the city like nothing had changed. Asterisk traffic lights still blinked red. Yellow, green, pedestrians laughed on sidewalks, restaurants glowed warmly behind glass windows. Asterisk, the world didn't pause just because I had. Asterisk I kept waiting. For the emotional crash. For the moment, my chest would tighten and my throat would close. The way it always did after I disappointed them. For years, that reaction had been automatic. Like a reflex. Asterisk make them upset, gives feel unbearable guilt, gives apologize, gives pay, gives restore peace. That was the cycle, but this time, my body didn't follow the script. Asterisk I stared out the passenger side window as the city slid past in streaks of light. My reflection floated faintly in the glass eyes, wide, face still, unfamiliar. I kept waiting to feel like the villain. Instead, I felt awake. Asterisk Jacob drove with both hands on the wheel, jaw tight, eyes forward. He didn't try to fill the silence. He knew better. He'd seen this pattern before, had watched me spiral after family dinners, birthdays. Emergencies that weren't emergencies at all. Asterisk tonight.
He just waited. The hum of the tires against asphalt became rhythmic, grounding, almost calming. I
glanced down at my hands resting in my lap. Asterisk they weren't shaking. Asterisk. That realization hit me harder than the confrontation itself. Asterisk my hands always shook. They shook when my phone rang late at night. They shook when my mother sighed dramatically before asking for help. Asterisk they shook when Lauren said, I wouldn't ask if I had another option. But now, nothing. For the first time, my nervous system wasn't bracing for impact. Asterisk it was like my body understood something my mind was still catching up to. Asterisk when we reached home, Jacob parked and cut the engine. The silence became thicker, heavier, but not threatening. Asterisk, you okay? He asked softly, not looking at me yet. I searched for the right answer. I don't know, I finally said. My voice sounded strange in my own ears. I think I just quit. Asterisk, he turned to look at me then. Really looked. Asterisk, good, he said after a moment. You've been working for free for a long time. Asterisk, inside the apartment, the air was cool and dark, familiar, safe. Asterisk, I kicked off my shoes and dropped my bag on the chair by the door. Before I could even turn on a light, my phone started vibrating in my hand. Not a gentle buzz, a violent, angry rattle. I didn't need to unlock it to know who it was. Lauren. Dad, Mom. Asterisk, I let it buzz. Then buzz again. Then again. Asterisk, when I finally flipped it over, the screen lit up like a warning signal. Notifications stacked on top of each other, piling up faster than I could read them. Asterisk, are you insane? You humiliated me in front of investors. Your mother is crying. Asterisk, this was petty, Madison. Even for you. I scrolled. Not one message asked why. Asterisk, not one asked if I could afford the bill. Not one asked if I was okay. The realization settled slowly, but once it did, it was impossible to ignore. They weren't worried about me. They were worried about disruption, about embarrassment, about appearances, about the supply chain being interrupted. I wasn't a daughter in that moment. I was infrastructure, and I had just gone offline. Asterisk, I placed my phone face down on the kitchen counter, like it might contaminate the room if I left it open. My chest felt tight, but not with guilt, with recognition. For years I had told myself I was the strong one, the responsible one, the dependable one. Asterisk, the one who held everything together while everyone else unraveled. Asterisk, but standing there, in the dim kitchen light, something clicked into place. Asterisk, that story wasn't strength. It was survival. I walked into the living room and sat down at the small desk by the window. My laptop waited there, closed, dusty from disuse. I hadn't opened it in weeks, maybe months. I powered it on. The blue glow filled the room, sharp and sterile. It illuminated my face in the dark, forcing me to really see myself. Asterisk, I didn't open my email. I didn't open messages. Instead, I opened a blank spreadsheet. Asterisk, if they wanted to talk about money. Fine, but we weren't using guilt as the currency anymore. We were using math. Asterisk, the cursor blinked at me, steady and patient, like it wasn't afraid of what I was about to uncover. Asterisk, I cracked my knuckles and typed the headers. Date. Item. Cost. At first, I stuck to the obvious things, the ones I could remember without effort. Asterisk, Lauren's first apartment security deposit. Asterisk, Dad's temporary loan after the sports car mistake. Asterisk, Mom's emergency flight when she just needed space. The numbers added up faster than I expected. I paused, fingers hovering over the keyboard, and then I added another column. I titled it, Ghost Ledger. This wasn't about money. This was about everything else. Asterisk, the night I missed my own anniversary dinner because Lauren had a panic attack over a casting callback. Asterisk, cost. One ruined memory. Asterisk, the weekend I spent cleaning out Dad's garage because he said he couldn't face it alone, only to find him inside watching football. Asterisk, cost. 2 full days of my life. Asterisk, the promotion I worked years for that my mother acknowledged. For 10 seconds before redirecting the conversation back to Lauren's haircut. Asterisk, cost. Self-worth. Asterisk, line by line, memory by memory. I typed every swallowed apology, every boundary ignored. Asterisk, every time I'd been the designated driver, therapist, financial advisor, emotional punching bag. This wasn't just a spreadsheet. It was an autopsy. My fingers started to ache, but I didn't stop, because for the first time, I wasn't trying to win their approval. Asterisk, I was documenting the truth. And the truth was brutal. By the time I leaned back in my chair, staring at the screen, the conclusion was undeniable. Asterisk, I wasn't just drained. I was bankrupt. Not just financially, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. I Had treated my family like a rigged slot machine, convinced that if I just put in one more coin, one more sacrifice, one more payment, eventually it would pay out love. But the machine wasn't broken. It was designed to take asterisk, and tonight, I had finally stopped pulling the lever. I should have gone to bed. Asterisk, that's what a reasonable person would have done. Shut the laptop, silence the phone, crawl under the covers, and tell themselves they'd deal with everything in the morning. But I wasn't reasonable anymore. I was awake in a way sleep couldn't touch. Asterisk. The apartment was silent except for the faint hum of the refrigerator and the distant sound of traffic far below our window. The kind of quiet that usually made my thoughts louder, but tonight, it sharpened them. Asterisk. I closed the spreadsheet and pushed the laptop slightly away from me. My chest felt tight, but steady. Like I was standing at the edge of something vast. Not dangerous, just honest. Asterisk. Behind me, Jacob sat on the couch, scrolling aimlessly on his phone. He wasn't really reading. I could tell by the way his thumb moved without focus. He was staying close without hovering. Giving me space without leaving. That mattered more than he knew. Then he stopped scrolling. Asterisk. Hey, he said quietly. Not alarmed, curious. Can you come look at this for a second? Something in his tone made my stomach drop. I stood and walked over, my bare feet cold against the floor.
He tilted his phone toward me. It was a photo, the receipt. Asterisk the same.
One from the restaurant. Asterisk. He had taken it without telling me, probably instinct, probably experience. He zoomed in on the bottom portion, past the steak, the wine, the dessert. There was a line I hadn't noticed before. Private room deposit, future event hold. $1,500. I blinked. Once. Twice. My brain refused to place it. Asterisk. What is that? I asked. Asterisk. Jacob frowned. I don't know. But look at the date. Next month. My pulse started to pound, slow and heavy, like something massive turning inside my chest. Asterisk. They wouldn't. I started. Then stopped. I already knew the answer. I grabbed my phone and called the restaurant. Asterisk. It was late. But places like the Monarch always answered. Prestige didn't sleep. The manager picked up on the second ring. I slipped into a voice I knew too well, the calm, pleasant tone of someone who belonged. Someone who wasn't asking, just confirming. Asterisk. Hi, I said smoothly. I'm calling to confirm the details on the Henderson receipt from tonight. We just want to double-check the date on the deposit. I could hear keyboard taps on the other end. Yes, ma'am, he said. The Tuscan room is reserved for Susan and David Henderson's 30th anniversary celebration on the 15th. The $1,500 deposit secures the space. Anniversary. 30 years. The words landed like ice water down my spine. I thanked him and hung up slowly, my hand trembling so badly I nearly dropped the phone. Asterisk. For a long moment, I just stood there. Asterisk. Staring at nothing. The 30th anniversary party. The one my mother told me was cancelled. Asterisk. The one she said they couldn't afford. Asterisk. The one she sighed dramatically about, saying, maybe next year. They hadn't cancelled it. They had just decided I would pay for it. My money. The money they expected me to cover for Lauren's launch dinner wasn't just for that night. Asterisk. It was collateral, security, a down payment on a celebration I wasn't even invited to. Asterisk. Something inside me hardened. This wasn't thoughtless anymore. This wasn't entitlement. This was strategy. They planned this, I said quietly. Asterisk. Jacob nodded, his expression dark. Yeah, they did. Asterisk. My phone buzzed again. A text from my father. We're downstairs. Buzz us up. We need to settle this. They didn't ask if they could come up. They didn't say please. They announced themselves, like they always had. Asterisk. I looked at Jacob. He was already standing, shoulders squared, protective instincts flaring. Asterisk. Do you want me to stay? He asked. I shook my head. No, I said. My voice surprised even me. I need to do this alone. I needed them to see something, that my strength didn't come from him. Asterisk. That I wasn't borrowing courage. This was mine. I buzzed them in. Asterisk. The sound echoed through the apartment loud. Final. I walked to the door and waited. When it opened, The hallway felt smaller, tighter like it was bracing. Asterisk my father walked in first, filling the space with his presence. His disappointment always arrived before he did. My mother followed, clutching her purse tight against her chest like a shield. Lauren came last. Oversized sunglasses still on indoors, hiding eyes swollen from very deliberate crying. They didn't take off their coats. They didn't say hello. They marched into my living room like they owned it. Sit down, my father said. Not a request. A command. I sat, but not where they expected. I chose the armchair opposite the couch, positioning myself deliberately. Equal distance.
Clear lines. Asterisk. Then I placed the manila folder on the coffee table between us. Inside it were the spreadsheets, the bank statements. Asterisk.
The blown-up photo of the receipt with the $1,500 deposit circled in red. Asterisk. My hand rested on top of it. My mother inhaled sharply. This wasn't a family meeting. Asterisk. This was a reckoning. The room was suddenly smaller than ever. Asterisk. I could feel the weight of their expectations pressing down. The invisible chains they had wrapped around me over decades. Asterisk. But this time, I wasn't the one bending. I looked at them, really looked. Asterisk. Not at the polished exterior of my parents, the fake tears of my sister. Not at the audience of invisible onlookers. Asterisk. I saw the ledger of their lives through my lens. The debts. The calculations. Asterisk. The transactions of my own sanity, spent like currency without consent. Asterisk. My mother began first. Voice tight, controlled, rehearsed. Asterisk. We are going to reset, Madison, she said. You have lost your way. Tuesday night was a disgrace. You embarrassed your sister. You disrespected your father. People are still talking. Lauren's voice cracked perfectly on cue. I've never been so humiliated. My investors were asking if we're financially unstable. Do you know how hard it is to get funding when your own sister implies you're a charity case? I didn't flinch. I didn't feel guilt. I didn't feel panic. I felt detached. It wasn't love. It wasn't family. Asterisk. It was a business transaction one. That had gone wrong. My father raised a hand to silence Lauren. We know you've been under stress. Maybe you're jealous of Lauren's success. Maybe you feel left behind. We forgive you for that. But you need to apologize. You need to pay the bill you walked out on. You need to make this right. I looked at them, really looked. Asterisk. I realized something fundamental. I wasn't a daughter. I had never been one. I was a silent partner. Creditor they went to when they needed a bailout but didn't want to surrender equity. Asterisk. I exhaled slowly, calmly, and I spoke. Asterisk. Are you finished? I asked softly, flat, controlled. My mother's lips parted in indignation. Asterisk. We're finished when you apologize, she snapped. I tapped the manila folder with my finger. I'm not here to apologize, I said. I'm here to review the accounts. The air changed. They sensed it, a drop in pressure, a subtle shift. The room no longer belonged to them. The ledger was mine. I opened the folder. The papers slid across the coffee table with a crisp, decisive sound. Asterisk. The receipt. Stared back at them. I read aloud, my voice stripped of emotion. Item 1. Dry-aged ribeye. Medium rare. $85. Asterisk. Item 2. Bottle of Veuve Clicquot. $400. Asterisk. Item 3. Truffle fries. $18. My mother leaned forward, lips thinning. Madison, stop this. You're being ridiculous. I didn't stop. I dropped my finger to the bottom line, the one circled in red. Asterisk. Item 4. Private room deposit. Future event hold. $1,500. Asterisk. I let the words hang like smoke in the room. I looked at her. At my father. At Lauren. And then I explained. Calmly. Professionally. Asterisk. The Tuscan room, your 30th anniversary. Next month. You said it was canceled? You said you couldn't afford it. You're using my money for a party I'm not even invited to, and you didn't ask. Silence. A tense, suffocating silence that stretched seconds into eternities. Asterisk. Lauren's sunglasses slipped slightly as her fake tears faltered. Asterisk mom's hand clenched like it was trying to pull the floor. From under me, asterisk dad's eyes darted to the carpet, avoiding mine. Asterisk I grabbed the second stack of papers, the spreadsheet I had prepared, the ghost ledger, all 5 pages of it. Single dash space dot asterisk. This, I said, spreading it across the table, is a record of every financial contribution I've made to this family over the last 5 years. Rent for Lauren's studio in 2019, lawyer fees for dad's DUI, mom's mental health trips, bills I've paid since I was 22, streaming services you all use but don't pay for. I looked at my father asterisk. You called me petty, you said I was ruining the family dynamic. I tapped the total. $42,350. That is what I have paid into this family in the last 5 years. Asterisk that is a down payment on a house. That is a wedding. That is my future liquidated to subsidize your lifestyles. My father's face went red. We raised you. You owe us, he sputtered. I shook my head slowly. I don't owe you anything. The volume of my voice didn't rise, but the intensity cut through their bluster like a scalpel. I realized then, I'm not a daughter. I'm a venture capitalist. Asterisk I'm the silent partner you turn to when your business is failing. Hoping I won't call the loan due. Asterisk I stood, towering over them on my second-hand furniture. Asterisk I have decided, I continued. Voice cold, steady, unflinching. This is a bad investment. I am pulling my funding. I pointed to the door. Get out, Madison, my mother pleaded, rising. Reaching for my hand, I pulled away as if she'd burned me. There is no payment plan, I said. The account is closed. Get out. Leave your key on the table. If you try to use it again, I will change the locks. If you harass me, I will take this ledger to court. I am done purchasing your love. They looked at me, really looked, and they understood. The bank was closed. There were no more loans. Slowly, one by one, they filed out. My father left the key on the coffee table next to the evidence of his greed. The door clicked shut behind. Then, with a finality that echoed in my chest, asterisk I walked to the window and watched the leaves swirl outside green to gold to brown. Asterisk 3 months have passed since that audit. Asterisk my phone sits on the coffee table. Silent, black. Asterisk for years. That silence would have terrified me. It would have felt like a storm waiting to break. Now, it feels like peace. I opened my banking app. The numbers were higher than they had ever been. Asterisk the drain. The emergency bills. The unpaid family contributions. All stopped. Asterisk $42,350. I would have bled out over the next 5 years, stayed right where it belonged. Mine. I turned to Jacob. Book it, I said. We're not going to Italy. We're not funding anyone. Elsa's fantasy of a perfect family. Asterisk we're going to Tokyo. For the first time, I realized my resources were finally funding my own life. The spreadsheet. The ghost ledger no longer a weapon. Just historical data. Record of a failed business venture. I archived the file. Closed the laptop. Asterisk the screen. Went black. My reflection stared back at me. Tired. Yes, but free. The price of my freedom was high. Asterisk I lost a mother. I lost a father. I lost a sister. Asterisk I lost the illusion of a safety net, but the cost of staying would have been higher. The account is closed, the balance is 0, and I am finally in the black.